This episode of the Vic MX Show is brought to you by Wonthaggi motorcycles and power equipment. Whether you're out on the road, playing in the dirt, or on the water, Wonthaggi motorcycles and power equipment have got you covered with their great range of motorcycles, marine, and outdoor power equipment. Servicing South Gippsland for over 25 years, their friendly and knowledgeable staff pride themselves on being able to deliver the highest level of service. Stocking a full range of Kawasaki and Honda road, dirt, and adventure motorcycles, kids' bikes, ATVs, riding gear, consumables and hard parts, Wonthaggi motorcycles and power equipment are your one-stop shop when it comes to having fun.
My name's Cooper Danaher and you're listening to the Vic MX Recap Show.
There were times I was lost, dark had fear, couldn't see through the rain. In the end it were clear, hit the fan. I was more than one man who was there to lend a hand. Together we'd stand, always had my back, my guardian soldier. Team pulled together, united we conquer. Blessed is he who in the name of charity carry me when I'm weak, straight through the valley of darkness. Pitch blackness, the heartless, regardless, fear couldn't part us. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. We ride, 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 ride. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper.
Welcome back, Moto fans. We have got a great show lined up for you today. Last weekend, the Goulburn Valley Club hosted round 2 of the Victorian Junior Motocross Championship, and we were treated to some real action-packed racing. Before we get into it, I just want to give a massive thanks to the series sponsor, Peter Stevens. They've been absolutely amazing and have supported the Vic MX shows for the last 2 years. As everybody is already aware, Peter Stevens recently announced that they're under administration and the long-term future of PS is still uncertain at this stage. But my heart goes out to Luke, Dino and the rest of the team there, and I'm still hoping that they can find a way through it. They've been trading for 50 years, which is a bloody long time. Fortunately, Wonthaggi motorcycles and power equipment have been gracious enough to step up so we can keep recording these shows for the rest of the 2025 season. Wonthaggi MPE are based just a few minutes drive from the Wonthaggi motocross track, so next time you're in the area, make sure you drop by and say g'day to Craig and the boys and show them some love. They're even open on Saturday mornings, so it's perfect if you need to grab something at the last minute on your way to the track. Times are tough at the moment, but I think there's a major lesson in this for all of us, and that's that we really need to support our local family-owned motorcycle shops and dealerships, as they're the ones who are regularly giving back so much to the sport. So keep that in mind next time you need a new bike, gear, or even just some advice. Now, let's get on to the show. A little later, we'll be meeting a couple of the riders who raced at Goulburn Valley, but first, joining me on the line, my regular co-host for these Vic MX shows, the voice of Victorian motocross, Kenny Watts. Welcome back, Kenny. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good to be here, Pete.
Yeah, you're dry and warm after the horrendous weather on the weekend?
Oh, mate, it took a bit to thaw out, didn't it? It was true winter.
Yep, I was fully equipped with thermals, and I actually felt all right until probably, the last couple of hours on Sunday. That's when it finally soaked through to me, and I reckon it took me about 3 or 4 hours afterwards to thaw out. It was definitely a Victorian winter.
Yeah, they gave us everything, didn't they? Occasionally we've seen a little bit of sun. That was Saturday. Some wind, and we got the rain on Sunday. So, yeah, we had everything.
Well, I think for the forecast, it was meant to be a lot worse even than it was. We kind of got really fortunate on Saturday because the weather on Saturday was unreal. Like you said, we got a bit of sun. It was overcast for most of the day, but it was relatively good. We barely rained or, if at all, just drizzled a little bit.
Saturday, yeah. Sunday rained. It rained a lot.
Yeah. So there was a bit of talk on Saturday morning. The club sealed the track in anticipation of the rain, and there was a little bit of talk about, you know, how that might impact racing and the way that the track was going to form up. But like all things said and done, I think we'll start with Saturday. I think they absolutely nailed it. The track held up really well. It still rutted up, you know, and obviously it prepared the track for the downpour that we ended up copping.
Yeah, done a great job actually. There was no rain watering, I don't think, in the left to it. They sealed it.
Yep.
And then a bit of rain on Friday night, I think, gave a good track for Saturday. As soon as they finished racing Saturday, our car smudged it, rolled it down as hard as you get it, hoping they did get too much rain on Saturday night. A lot of it would have worked, but just the rain persisted on Sunday.
You're cutting out a little bit, Kenny. All right, we'll keep trying. Otherwise, I might have to hang up and ring you back. And so, as far as gate numbers go on the weekend, we still had some pretty solid numbers on the gate. Yeah, what sort of numbers did we end up getting?
They all turned up. I think it was just over 100.
Yep.
You know, some kid on Sunday struggled and just thought, no, this is good for them. And there was others persisted, and there was a lot of kids smiling.
Yeah, I'm sure that their dads who had to work on the bikes weren't smiling quite as much. But there's definitely some kids that love racing in the mud, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, look, some kids got the benefit of the mud racing. There were some kids out there that stood out.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there were some other riders that seemed to struggle a bit. But that start line on Sunday, if you didn't get a good start, you covered in it straight away.
Well, I can tell you there's 3 jobs that I wouldn't have wanted on Sunday. That's being one of the dads working and cleaning the bikes, because, you know, that was pretty much a full-time job on Sunday. I definitely didn't want to be a sweep rider on Sunday. Like that 65 C-grade race, watching those kids try to get around in that mud. And at one stage, I think I said to you off air, before we started recording, there was like a rider or more down in every corner, and, you know, there was only a couple of sweepies, so they had their work cut out for them.
They started on that first lap, and then they worked their way around the track, and then they had to go again.
Yep.
It's just great job, the sweepies. So.
Yep, they would have slept very, very well after the weekend, and the flaggies as well. I mean, sitting stationary in those conditions was very, very cold, and that was a tough job. Over the weekend, you know, 2 cold days and then finishing it off with a day of complete rain. So, yeah, massive shout out to those guys.
Like getting flaggies is the hard part for clubs, and to throw that weather at them.
I'm going to ask you a tough question, Kenny. Do you think that the event should have been cut short maybe after the first 2 rounds of racing on the Sunday, given the conditions and, you know, the weather just continuing to rain?
They were all progressed still and getting around, and probably getting some better lap times later in the day than they were earlier. Like, in fairness to the riders that loved the mud,
yep,
this was their opportunity to pick up some points where they'd probably struggle a little bit in the hard pack when it's not wet. So
yeah, like you said, there was
a fine line in it.
It is a fine line, and like you said, there was some standout riders, but. Like one thing I noticed, I think by the final round of motos, we were down to probably 30% of the riders that started the day. And one thing that I did notice was, you know, we talk about how hard it is to get volunteers, and some of the flaggies were definitely struggling later in the day. And I think that's something that, you know, the racing is what we're there for. But these people are volunteers, and I think that makes it really, really hard. And it'll be hard to get them back after a day like that, I think. It certainly wasn't pleasant out there.
Yeah, the commentator hit a few times. No, that. Sometimes I was like, I was looking over the back of a tabletop, hiding first aid room, just getting the numbers of bikes. They were going over it. Like, and once it got real bad, the back number was the only thing I could go off.
Yep.
They were all the same colour coming towards me. I had no idea. It's about 70% are readable.
Yep.
So there's some that are, you know, like the colour of them in stripe around, you know, say, for example, it's a white jersey with white numbers and only a black
outline
stripe around it. Yeah, and it's just, we're lucky we've got more laps
Yeah. Well,
in those conditions, I say.
spare a thought for the poor photographer out there that was trying to recognise the riders as they come around and take a photo from the front. Because that was tough, and even just sorting through the photos afterwards, it was so hard to try pick who was who, and it took probably 3 times as long as normal. And unfortunately, on the Sunday, my day got cut short because I ended up actually getting moisture inside the lens, which is not ideal.
Yeah, it's a tough weekend for everybody. Like the Saturday, I don't think they wash bikes.
Yep.
And then we go to Sunday,
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the day, and if it hadn't continued to rain, I think, the racing and the track conditions would have been absolutely fine. It was just the continuous rain that made things difficult. But like you said, there was riders that stepped up in those conditions, so we'll get onto those shortly as well. I've had a couple of messages regarding the podium interviews. Apologies for the delay in posting those. We did do the podium interviews on the Saturday when the weather was still okay. So
yes.
By the time you're listening to this, you'll be able to get them on the Mental for Moto and the MVMX pages on Instagram. So check them out there.
Kids are starting to speak well too.
Yep, I think we said it on the last show. They've really, really stepped up, and I think the regularity of doing those interviews and the riders are often the same riders that are podiuming them. They're getting a bit of practice and getting a lot more confident as well, and so is the guy that's asking the questions.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting better. I don't think... Did we have a blooper on the weekend? I don't think we did. I think I might have done all right.
I think you did all right, Kenny. I don't think we had any blooper footage.
Yeah, I'm actually getting parents coming up to me, and it's woof, not wooloof, or things like that. They give me that little bit of fine tuning so I can possibly pronounce their kids' names better. But there was a rock reader, R-O-C-H, and I was calling him Roch.
You butchering the names is part of the fun.
Sometimes people laugh at it, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. Some people are a bit sensitive to it, though, so you just never know.
Yeah, like some parents come over and say, my young fella's rap, he's watching the video and you're calling his name out as we're videoing, Some people enjoy it, maybe not, I don't know.
Well, on that note, let's get on to some of the results from the weekend. If you want to check all the results, they're up now on Speed Hive, so we're just going to be covering some of the standouts from the weekend. All right, Kenny, what I'm going to do is, because it does keep cutting out, I'm just going to hang up and ring you straight back, and hopefully we get a better line.
We'll try that.
Oh, that's actually way better. We've just refreshed the line, so hopefully the sound comes through a little bit better. All right, the first class, and it's a class that I wanted to talk about, was the Maxxis 125 B grade class. The battles between Cody Everett, Cade Bean and Drew Burns, for me, was some of the highlights of the weekend. They each took a moto win, with Cody getting the overall, but the racing was just unreal in this class.
Yeah, 100%. Like Cade Bean took off in the first race, and I thought, if this is the way the day's going to go, he's going to have a clean sweep. But it didn't happen that way. Cody Everett fired up and come good, and then Drew Burns finding some form on the 125. So, it's good to see. Some great racing for them boys.
I think it's the most confident I've ever seen Cody for a start. I mean, Cade's been getting pretty used to being at the front over the last few races, but seeing Cody step up, and he's over from South Australia, that was just unreal. And I think these guys are going to be battling it out for the rest of the season now. Yeah,
Cody changed brands this year, so gone to a Yamaha, and seems to be gelling with it this round, really. Especially, it went really good. And the other two boys have both stepped up onto the 250s this year also, I believe, and are on Hondas. Good boys. And, riding well.
I mean, imagine how fast Cody could be on a Honda.
Imagine if we had a two-stroke Honda. It's worth it.
Yeah.
His dad's obviously got one in the shed, but the kids are on really good, to be honest. Yeah. It's good to watch.
Yeah, and in the 125A grade class, I mean, Job Dunn, we know how good he is. He's been pretty dominant in that class on the 125 for the last couple of years, but Cooper Ford actually he was giving him grief pretty much all day on the Saturday, which was, I think, he's definitely stepped up. He's closed that gap, and he's been racing Pro MX this year, and I think that kid's going places as well.
Yeah, I've been following both boys for a long time, and Job's that rider that is a reigning Victorian 125 champion, and at the start of last year he was only 13.
Yeah.
The start of this year he was still only 14. So the way the rules have changed, if he was to stick on a 125 right through, he could create history and probably something that may never be
repeated.
Near it again, I suppose. Yeah. I only know of one rider in the history of 125 A grade in Victoria to win all three, and that was Bronny. So,
yeah.
So, Job, if he doesn't outgrow to 125, then because he rides it really good. So
he does. And like I said, Cooper Ford's giving him grief in every moto now. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys battle at the next few rounds. And Nate Shortt, so he rounded out the podium. And of course, Nate's riding in 3 classes, which is he's one of those madmen.
Yeah, he's doing all 3, and he's just doing it at, I think, in the northern region. He's going in all 3 in that series too. So
yep,
it's not just at this one. He's trying to do it everywhere. So
no, I'll definitely I'll be getting him on a little bit later for a chat, but I'd be interested to hear his reasoning behind that, because there's that age-old argument about whether you get the experience of riding 3 classes or whether you focus on one and try to get the results. What's your opinion? You're a moto dad, and Corey's raced at a very high level. What's your sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it come down to money for me, but that's like plain and simple. I had 2 boys racing, and I couldn't afford 4 bikes. So, in fairness to both of them, they got 1 each, and we tried to keep turning them over as much as we could, and try and keep them having fun with what they could.
Yep.
I'd love to have been in the position to let the boys race in 2 classes, but finances couldn't do that. But you look at some kids once they go to the 254 stroke, struggle to go backwards and forwards, but not these boys at the moment.
Yep.
They're all going really good, and a lot of them are racing 125s and 250s now. You see the 85 sort of, there's not a lot of kids doing the 85 and a 125 or the 85 or the 250. It sort of dropped off that little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind going from an 85 2-stroke to a 250 4-stroke, over the course of a weekend. That is such a big difference.
Yeah. And the way the power is delivered and everything, and your revs and everything, braking, engine braking, everything's completely different.
Yep.
I suppose the only thing is the way you turn the throttle on, and the kids love doing that, flat out.
Yeah. So I think, if there's a benefit for it, for me, it's got to make the riders more adaptable, and maybe at the sacrifice of short-term results, it's an investment in, the long-term skill set of the rider. Do you reckon?
Yeah. Yeah, because to be honest, once you turn senior, there's minimal times that you'll ride a 2-stroke.
Yep.
Once you go senior in motocross, anyway. But it's the technique and everything else that comes with the 2-stroke in the corners and everything else, and just put you in a good stead to go further in your career, maybe.
Yeah. We'll at least get a chance to ask him about that a little bit later. We spoke about it on the last podcast, the K&J Thomas junior girls class. We need some more riders. We desperately need some more riders in this class. We mixed the girls in with the 125 C grade boys class, or actually the 125 C grade class. What do you think it's going to take to get some more girls on the line? Like you said last time, there's plenty of girls that race. There's plenty of girls that turn up and watch to support, maybe a brother racing the Vics.
And there was that occasion on the weekend too. So.
Yep. So, what's it going to take to get these girls on the line?
Mate, I've done some recruiting. I've got a girl coming from Darwin to the next round.
Yep.
She is. She's coming back. Young Keely Scott, a former Victorian that moved up there, and they're coming back and going to do a bit of racing back here in Victoria, because the girls is more prominent here in Victoria compared to in Darwin. So
yep.
She's going to come back and they'll fly in and out. So, but yeah, the other girls, they're at the races. Their brothers are racing, and they're just standing there and going, "Why are you racing?" "Oh no, I'm just happy to do the Westerns or the Gippies or whatever." You know, they probably get a bit intimidated because they don't run grading in the girls' class. So all of a sudden, you do have the Nellie Fox that's a B grade rider, and you have the visiting rider from Western Australia come over, and she's an A grade motocross rider.
Yep.
And then the C grade girls are riding with them, and they maybe get a little bit intimidated by that. I'm not sure, but then they go and race with the boys and beat some of the boys, and it's like, this should be a confidence booster for you.
I mean, experience riding those tracks, the way that they shape up, they're definitely not national spec for the most part, but they're a step up from the regional races that a lot of these girls are doing. So, I mean, it would give them valuable experience and definitely an advantage then when they go back and race, local and regional series.
Yeah. And, like the girls had the luxury of racing Saturday too, which is a benefit. They'd be going, "Oh, thank Christ, we only raced yesterday." Some of them fronted up against Sunday too. So I don't know how we get them there. I'd love to see a big grid of girl riders racing. But
yeah. From a rules perspective, how many girls do we need on the gate for them to have their own class?
Well, it's meant to be 6 to constitute a class, but we're here for the girls, and we want to make sure that we give them every opportunity, and we're going to honour, we started the series for the girls, and we'll continue to do it. I'd hate to be in a position where we stop the girls racing at level, Vics and the regions and things like that, because we don't have the numbers. We've just got to persist and encourage them. Like, they're only on a level playing field with the boys, so the boys are there. We give them every opportunity to race, and we should do that for the girls too. So,
no, I totally agree. All right, the next class or the next riders I wanted to talk about in the 50cc class, Tyler Phillips and Ollie Threadgold. We spoke about Ollie after round 1 at Portland, like he was phenomenal on the 50 at Portland. But Tyler Phillips this weekend, he rode in a way that I've never seen him ride before, and he took out 2 of the 3 motos. These kids are going to be going places if they stick with the sport.
Yeah, and all the boys are racing 65s too. So when they get back on the 50 and there's no gear changing or anything else, they can focus on their riding, focus on the braking, the cornering, the jumping and everything else. That's where they put all that practice together.
Yeah.
And then they get up on the other bikes and it's, gears, braking, so there's a little bit going on in the head when they get on the 65, but on the 50, you just throw that to the side and just turn the throttle on and go. So, and they were good to watch.
Yeah, they were. There was good battles, and man, the way that they ride, it makes me want to go back, and wish I could ride a 50 again and learn to ride the way these kids do, because, I think they're going to be the future of the sport, or they are the future of the sport. And if they're riding like that, at that young age on 50s, I can only imagine what it's going to be like when they get to the senior ranks.
Yeah, and just seeing the progress that they've made this year, like Tyler Phillips and that, stepping it up confidence. He's got this, little grin that sticks out the helmet, and you're talking to him. Good little kid.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah. Him and also young Xavier on the loo. He's a young fella that holds it on too. So he's just getting used to the 50 a bit better, and the 65 he's racing that too, but he's only young. And I think he may have got 3rd on the weekend.
Yeah, so he got 3rd on the weekend. I had seen that earlier, but I didn't want to try pronounce his last name and get that
I asked
very
my
wrong.
Mother, and the mother said it's just on the loo.
On the loo.
On the loo. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced.
Yep, Xavier.
Because I was going to make a mess of it. I actually went over and talked to her. This is back when they first started racing. I said, "You're going to have to help me with this one. I don't want to make a boo-boo of this one." And it's just as it sounds, on the loo. Yeah.
Won't forget that now.
Yeah, you won't forget it now. No.
Yeah.
Xavier.
And the last class I wanted to talk about from the Saturday was the 85 small wheel A grade class. Mason Ezagalis, he's carried his form from the 65 A grade that we saw last year into the 85 small wheel class. Dominant. We all know his name and the way he can ride. Lucas Poole, second place in 85 small wheel. Now, he's someone that has been very dominant at the regional level, but every time he's tried to step up to state level or like we even saw him at the national at Traralgon in the feature 65cc race, he always seems to have some bad luck, whether it's mechanical or a tip over or getting tangled up. But it's great to see him finally starting to get consistently good results at these high levels, be it the Vics, and he was on the podium at the Pro MX in the 65 Futures Cup as well.
Yeah, he's a good little rider, isn't he? And like, he must be, is he like Rosebud or something like that?
No, they ride out at the Pines a lot, out in East Gippsland.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know exactly where he's from, but
yeah, so
he's a good little rider, isn't he?
He's a fantastic little rider, and like we've been watching him win races at the Gippies for years. Like he's been one of those highly touted sort of riders, but every time we've seen him sort of at those high levels, like I said, he hasn't really stood out, I think, to his potential just because, things have happened. So, he's now getting the confidence and the results, which is very cool.
I did hear about him doing the Traralgon 65 Futures race.
Yep.
And that was on Lewis J. Carapa's bike.
It was,
They loaned it to him. Yeah, so that's good. You see that happening in the sport, and that's pretty cool. So, he didn't have a bike, so the Carapas gave him Lewis's old one, which was pretty bloody good anyway. Good bike. We knew they could go. So, yeah, and that's just cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Helping them out.
And rounding out the podium in the small wheel 85 A grade class was Bodie Austin, and in the 65cc A grade, it was the same three kids, except so Mason took it out, and Bodie finished second in the 65, and Lucas finished third. So they've got both classes covered, I think. Yeah.
Young Bodie's out of South Australia, come over, and he's a good little rider, isn't he? Number 62 that you see flying around.
He is. He stands out, and the camera loves him because he's always got like bright red gear on.
Yeah, they can keep coming over, the South Australian boys, and it's good. And Oliver Threadgold and Cody Everett and that come over and race with our boys, and if they're giving our boys a run, well, it's good.
It definitely adds some depth to the Victorian Championship.
Yeah, but as I said on Saturday, the reason why they're coming is because it's the best.
Yep.
It's the best series. So that's my opinion. I just think with the graded format that we run here in Victoria, it gives all the kids that opportunity to race, whether it's C grade, B grade, or the A grade. So instead of just age group racing, I think that's an appropriate class for the Aussie juniors. But
definitely hearing that a lot from the riders that come across from South Australia, up from Tassie, and even down from New South Wales, is that the Victorian Championship is, at the moment, it's the testing place for all these riders to come together and get that experience for the next level. So, it's good for our championship, and I think it's testament to the job that you guys are doing on the MVMX committee as well.
Yeah, it's probably another thing, but while we've got a bit of airtime, motocross management's looking for a few helpers, like anyone that's got that secretary experience. We're looking for a secretary for management, and also a social media person, probably a Middleton Moto bloke might sneak on.
I've spoken to Nikki about that a bit this week, so
it's just trying to share the workload. Nikki's took on a lot, and Kirsty and Jason, myself, there's just the four of us that are doing it in between rounds, and then when we get to the event itself, we have a lot of people pitch in and help out, but it's just getting it ready and things like that. So,
well, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and it is challenging for four people to carry that whole workload. Yeah,
and we're here for the sport, and everyone is in the sport because they like the sport. So if you've got that opportunity to pitch in and help a bit, I think it's good. There's my little pitch for helping out in motocross management. But it's good watching our Vic titles, the way it's ran and the way the kids are supporting and their parents and things like that. So we've got some good media coverage with Mental for Moto and things like that. So.
Most definitely. And I mean, with the amount of time these kids are spending on social media, I'm sure one of them could step up and lend some expertise to help Nikki out with that stuff as well.
Yeah, so I know just I sneak over to the dark side occasionally with the Vic Off-Roads and they've got just a dedicated bloke that does their social media and he's cool, and then comes weekends he's racing and things like that. But sometimes you just got to think, sometimes we can just pitch in and help out.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I'll definitely give Nikki a bit of a chop out with some of that, but I think, if you can get a dedicated person, that would be ideal.
Yeah. I think the sport's in a position to grow, like with the numbers we've got coming through from the 50s and the 65 C grade, which initially we started with 40, but when the weather came and then the track conditions deteriorated, there was a few of the mums and dads that go, little Johnny's not ready for this yet. So a few packed up and sat in the sidelines and watched the racing, but there's good numbers there, Pete. So if we can, create a good atmosphere for the people to come to and enjoy their racing and hopefully stick at it, and we may see another Jet Lawrence coming through.
Yeah, there may be one of these riders that we're watching and talking about could be that guy.
That's right. You don't know. Like, I think Jet may have won a world title on a 65, and we've got young Mason Ezagales going over to have a hit again in Spain, just been announced. Going over, I think it's Spain, going over in early July. So
yeah, he finished 8th last year. He finished 8th last year, I think. So
yeah, I spoke to the dad on it and about that event, and he said it's not 2 or 3 riders going into the first corner to get the whole shot. It's 40. So yeah, it's just a little bit of luck and everything else. So never know. You never know. They talk about, I'd like to get Mason's bike and have a ride on that. And they say, well, just buy one from the shop and get on it and ride it, because that's what it is. So, it's got a little bit of easy race bling sitting on it because that's his dad's business. So, why wouldn't you? But, they've had their issues at tracks with a spark plug and things like that let them down too. So
for sure, he does all his talking on the track, little Mason.
Yeah, yes, he does, and good to watch, aren't they? Those kids.
Yep, definitely. And the last one, just for Saturday, Attila Manson on the 85 small wheel in the C grade class. I spied him possibly doing a little bit of training with Ross Beaton a couple of weeks ago, and all of a sudden he takes out the 85 small wheel C grade class. So another one of these riders that could be a rising star.
Well, that may answer some of his improvement this year, that he's been doing a bit of training with us, but he's rode well at a few events, so room to grow.
Yep. All right. On to Sunday, the Tough Mudders, because the track was deep, it was slippery, and it just got wetter and wetter as the day got on. So in the deep core drilling 85 B grade big wheel class, Bo Greaves, 3 moto wins. I'll be honest, I've never really noticed Bo too often before, but yeah, I definitely noticed him on Sunday.
No, I know Bo personally, and he put it all together on the weekend. It's good when you see the rider go out there on those conditions and he comes in and you can read his jersey, you can look at the colour of his jersey and everything. He was out front, clean air, and looked really good, didn't he?
Yep, perfect day for him. So, well done. Cade Bean in the Winter Motorcycles 250B class. He expects a lot from himself, and he wasn't so stoked with a 3rd place in the 125s on Saturday. And that showed, I think, in the way that he rode on Sunday. Like you said, he was one of those riders that was clean. Led most of the way.
Like when they come in, people are commenting and they go, look how clean they are still.
Yep.
And then you see the other kids that don't get that whole shot going in that first corner and don't get the clean air out in front. And, which one's my son out there? And then as they're riding off, you see the back number, and that's the only time some parents could work out where their kid was.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I knew every time a rider went past that I was meant to photograph that I'd missed them when I saw their back number.
Oh, there's another one.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So, it's we need a way to keep them clean on the front, maybe some little windscreen wipers or something, with a number on the front. But
yeah, although I don't know. It just it was just a day that was tough for everybody. The lap scorers would have had a nightmare in there. So
yeah, but I tell you, you start to compensate. Like I started to look at the helmet colour because you could sometimes see a little bit of the peak colour, whether they were running hand guards or not. The colour of their gloves if they wore bright gloves. Yeah, little things like that. I started to be able to pick some of the riders apart, but other ones, they were just completely brown from head to toe.
Yeah, so, and at the end, I got to the point I was just going straight off my laps.
Yep.
Speed high. I had got no idea, and some of the numbers I couldn't read from, like trying to get into a place where I wasn't standing in the rain constantly. Yeah, I was hiding in the first aid tent for a bit and things like that, and then I got to the point I was freezing, so I went to the fire for a bit, and I was just commentating off the speed dive there. So, but the parents that didn't have speed dive were going, "Oh, that's Bruce. Oh, that's cool." So,
yep, for sure.
Yeah.
No, your job definitely wouldn't have been easy either.
But the good thing about it, there's no memory of my mistakes. With the photos.
No record. Yep.
There's no record. So I could call the wrong name in the wrong class, and I've done it before. I've even known kids that just got the same last name as a senior rider, and I could have Chad Reed riding around out there sometimes.
Yeah.
So
don't worry, Kenny. I've got the Kenny Watts file happening. Yep.
Well, there's going to be a blooper session at the presentation, I think. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to start making some more bloopers, otherwise we're going to have nothing to laugh at.
No, I've probably got a bit there for you already, I think. Yeah.
All right. In the Winter Motorcycles 250 A-grade class, Job Dunn took it out, but Nate Ebick, second. He impressed me as well on the weekend. Nice kid and rode really well.
Yeah, one of Lee Hogan's BCP riders. So on a Honda comes down out of, I think he's in New South Wales. I met him at Rockhampton, but yeah, he's a nice kid. And I think he took it to Job in one race too, didn't he?
He did.
Like, did he beat Job in one? Yeah, I think he did. I think he had one win and 2 seconds behind Job, I think, from memory.
So you are correct. He did win the last race. Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's a good effort, and he actually had the presence of mind and the ability to smile at me on one of the laps as he went past.
Yeah.
So he was enjoying himself out there.
Yeah. No, it was good. So who got third in that class? Oh, Xavier Moulton, number 91.
Yep, Xavier Moulton.
Yeah, good boy.
Yep, and Nate Shortt finished just off the podium. So he got 2 podiums on the weekend and a 4th in the 250 A-grade class. Yeah.
And that other rider we talked about earlier on the 125, going Cooper Ford, he stepped up and riding the 250 and I think looked all right in some of them too.
He's riding the 250 really well. He's just stepped up and he's riding that in the MX3 class at the Prime X as well. He was on the 125 and then with Terralgan being as deep as it was, they opted to step up to the 250, which he was a little bit reluctant initially because he's a small statured kid. And obviously when a 250 bites, it's going to bite a lot harder than the 125. But I think he's got to the point now where he's confident and comfortable enough and I mean, he can ride. So,
he's been doing the Vic since he was on a 65, I think. So he's been coming over. So we've followed his career right through and he got picked up by the KTM team and he's still on it, which is cool.
Yeah, and I was talking to Job's dad on the weekend, and those two have actually been sort of going at it since they were, really, really young.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more riders I've got on my list that I wanted to shout out to as standouts from the weekend. Taj Tehenepi. So finished 5th overall in the EZE Race Products 85 B-grade big wheel class. He actually had an issue in Moto 1, so didn't finish in that moto, but wins in Moto 2 and 3, and he looked to me like he was riding a completely different track to everyone else. He was just hanging off the back, flapping off that thing wide open, When everyone else was riding past with their feet hanging off and dabbing and, falling over, it was...
a redemption for the first race may have angered him to ride like that.
Yep. And I'm good mates with his dad, and I race against his dad in the vet class. And look, his dad definitely shines when the conditions get deep and rutted and technical. But, Taj has taken that and he's taken another step, I think, because, the way he rode on the weekend in those conditions was just really, really impressive.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, 113. It's good with numbers, isn't it? So he was riding really good in the. Like, I thought he started off all right in the first one and didn't realise he had a DNF, but the next two were standout.
Yeah,
it was good.
And finally, up from Tasmania, RJ Penny taking out the win in the stacked 85 A grade class. So he was the only rider to be consistently at the front in those horrible conditions. And he stood out. He did really, really well in each race. And if you look at the results in that class, there was no other rider that put two consistent races together, and RJ put three together.
Yeah, well, it's just Tasmania weather. We looked after them, the Tassie kids, didn't we? Like, we gave them everything to make them feel at home. Gave them freezing cold wind. We gave them rain and mud. It was hard for everybody to see who was out there. And he thought, if I get out front, Dad will know where I am. So they rode really good.
I reckon they don't get weather that horrible down in Tassie, mate.
I don't know. But, we always say that, but doesn't it come from there?
Yeah, it follows them up, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I had brought it with them, but no, he rode. There's a few kids from Tassie who are riding good. Cooper Jenkins,
Yep.
He's just stepped up into that A grade class, and RJ's been doing the VIX for a few years now and stepped up with the grading when we've graded him. So off results and then he's gone on there and now starting to put it together in this class too, which is good. So
yeah, I haven't looked at the results. Was he up there back at Portland as well, or is it the conditions that have sort of made him shine at Goulburn Valley?
I don't think he rode as good at Portland as what he did at this round anyway.
Yeah. Well,
but I think this year was his first year in A grade too, so starting to gel with being comfortable out there, with confident with the riders and things like that too. Maybe, I don't know. Well,
he's going to leave Goulburn Valley.
Confidence plays a big part in our sport. So
I was about to say he's going to leave Goulburn Valley with some newfound confidence, I think.
And as a memento, he's taken half of it home with him.
Yeah, they're going to need to get an extra weight allowance to take that bike back over. Yeah, on the Spirit.
Yeah, there was a post by the GV club saying, "Can we have our topsoil back, please?"
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
On that note, I noticed that they'd put a lot of mulch into the track. Like there was heaps of mulch. I think that really helped the conditions over the weekend.
Yeah, so a lot of clubs that have run hard pack tracks, that's the way to try and break some of the clay content down in their venues. So, I think they've got an area out the front, so anyone can just drop off some mulch out the front, and then they spread it out through the track and blend it in and whatever else. So.
All right, was there anyone that comes to your mind that stood out over the weekend?
Not outside of the people we've already talked about, I don't think. Yeah, I think everything went pretty good. We've talked about were the standouts, Pete. I think you may have missed them taking a photo here and there, but you didn't miss them with the results you've got. And even those couple of kids that may not have had the exact results that they were looking for, you've picked up on like Taj's results and a few others. So, yeah, I think we've covered them pretty good. Hopefully the kids have enjoyed the weekend and washed their bikes up and helped Mum and Dad clean everything up and get ready for winter in a couple of weeks' time. So
yeah, for sure. And of course, this weekend we've got the senior round 3 at Horsham as well. So yeah, there's it's nearly every weekend at the moment.
At the minute it is, yeah. So Horsham copped some good rain last weekend and we've had nothing but frosty mornings and sunshine. Just a lot, cool breeze that stops it from going to 20 degrees, and we're sitting around the 13s to 15s during the week. But we're keen for the weekend at Horsham to probably put the Vics back where we need to put them and focus on the racing and just let it all just be a fun weekend for everyone that's coming along. Reasonable numbers in the ladies again, and we can celebrate Maddie Healy's going to be racing, and she's just competed in the Fink and done the back-to-back and won the ladies class for the second year running. So
Yeah, unbelievable rider, and I'll try to get Maddie on for the Vic MX show after Horsham as well. So, we can hopefully hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, no, it should be good. Hopefully we have some great weekends racing and just consolidate people's positions for the Vics and then we head off for the final round at Cobram later in August.
Looking forward to it, Kenny. Hopefully, we get slightly warmer weather and drier weather than we had last weekend, and I'm looking forward to catching you up there.
Yeah, not a problem, Pete. Hopefully everyone comes along and watches some great racing if you're not racing yourself and make the most of the weekends. So,
thanks, Kenny, and thanks for coming on.
Not a problem. Thanks very much, Pete.
All right, my first rider guest for this episode is Nate Shortt. Welcome to the Vic MX show, Nate.
Thank you. Good to be here.
No, it's great to have you on. And we were just talking off air. I can't believe that it's almost a week after that event. This week has absolutely flown by.
Yeah, it's gone by pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a busy week for you. Cleaning bikes. You got 3 bikes to clean.
Yeah, I just take them all apart and get underneath the gas tank and stuff. It was everywhere.
I can imagine. How long does that take you to get through and get your bikes ready again for the next event or the next weekend?
It takes a while. I reckon because I have to take apart all the plastics and that off, it probably takes 10 minutes to take all the plastics off. It depends on how much mud is actually on the bike, maybe 20, 30 minutes to clean it.
Yep.
And then to put them all back together, probably about 10 minutes.
It's a fair bit of work in it. I think you're 14, is that right?
Yeah, 14.
Yep. So how long have you been doing that, all your bike maintenance and prep for?
All my bike maintenance I started, I reckon, last year. Before that, Dad helped me out with it. He didn't really trust me with all the fragile stuff. But now my coach, Adrian, he is really into, if you're a rider, you need to learn how to get your bike ready. You need to learn how to fix your bike because once your parents aren't there, if you don't know what to do, it's not going to be very nice.
And does it help you understand how the bike works a little bit better as well?
Yeah, definitely. Because me and Adrian, I take the bike completely apart. I get the engine out, and he just does all the stuff inside of it.
Yep.
But he makes me watch him, so I know I can do a full engine rebuild. I understand how it all works. I can completely put together, pull apart, rebuild a bike.
That's crazy. And what about suspension stuff?
Suspension stuff, I'm not the best with. That's all Adrian. I am very picky, though. I have my suspension very, very stiff, so it kind of like tracks through the bumps. And he knows exactly how to set it up. But we go to Choice Suspension, and coming straight out of that, we've been going there for years.
Yep.
They know how to set up my suspension pretty good.
Yep. So we sort of alluded to it before, and I had Kenny on, so we've already covered a fair bit of the weekend. But one of the key talking points was obviously the conditions between Saturday and Sunday, and you raced both days. But yeah, what were your thoughts about the weekend and especially the conditions that we faced at Goulburn Valley?
Yeah, it was actually, I thought the track was probably the best it's ever been on the Saturday. It wasn't too rough, it wasn't too deep ruts. It was, personally, I love that type of shallow rut, nice track.
Fast. Yeah,
fast. And then on the Sunday, in practice, I love the track on the 250. We're just having some bike issues on the 85, but yeah. Race 1, I had a sand tire on, which I was pedal tire on, but I forgot to check the tire pressure, so I had 40 PSI on it. So I had no grip whatsoever.
Yep. And what bike was that on?
250 on the second day.
Oh, that was on the Sunday, yeah, in the mud. So in terms of prepping for those conditions, you sort of said that you like those fast tracks that aren't too rough and shallow ruts. Which region do you race in between the Vics and the national events?
I do northerns and I do westerns.
Oh, wow. So you do a lot of racing.
Yeah, and I do as much racing as possible. I went to Tarragona for the Gippies. I didn't have the best there, but it was just a bit of fun. Because more track time, more race starts. Our idea is the more you do, the better you will get.
Well, that's definitely a theme of some of the questions that I want to ask you, and we'll get into that. But before we do, just tell me a little bit about your weekend. We'll start with Saturday. Yeah, talk me through your races and how you went and your thoughts about the racing on each day.
Yeah, so Saturday I did really good at 333, which was amazing after Portland. I didn't have a best round at Portland, but on the weekend, my starts weren't the best. I just could not get grip, but I made my way through the pack every single race, and I made some awesome moves. I was very happy with it, but hopefully next time I can get some better starts and be up there with the big boys.
Yeah, well, you ended up with 2 podiums out of 3 classes, and that always blows me away. So you race 85 A grade, 125 A grade, and 250 A grade, and you ended up with 2 podiums, so 3rd place in the 85s, 3rd place in 125s, and 4th in 250s, it's pretty damn impressive. I have to ask, and I've spoken to Kenny about this, like, why do you race 3 classes, and what are sort of some of the pros and cons in racing 3 classes?
Well, the reason I race 3 classes, it's more track time, race fitness. The reason I do the 85 is I'm still fairly competitive on it. I know how to ride it, and it kind of sets you up a little bit through the bikes, because going from 250 to 125 like at the Northerns, because it's all on the same day, you go 250 and jump back to a 125. It's a fair bit of a difference.
Yeah.
So the 85 is kind of like that mid, kind of get you into the 125 before the actual race.
So is it a case of like investing in those bike skills now to get better results as you get more serious and as you get older? Because I can imagine that if you were to focus and put all your time and effort into one class, your results in that class might be even better. But is that why you sort of race 3 classes?
Yeah, well, my coach, Adrian, he had a kid, I think it was 10, 15 years ago. He went over to America, and their entire life he rode as many bikes as possible.
Yep.
It's really just about that muscle memory. It's the transitions. It's about, like, if you can ride a 125 fast, you can ride a 250 fast. It's stuff like that.
And do you have a preference at the moment as to which bike that you're on? Do you prefer the 2-stroke or the 4-stroke?
If I'm being honest, I absolutely hate 2-strokes.
Oh, really?
I absolutely hate them. I hate the way that you have to ride the clutch. I love the 4-stroke being smooth. My 4-stroke, my 250, it's got, like, it's basically stock. It's got an FMF pipe on it. It's got a suspension, and it's just got a vortex ignition. And that ignition, we were running it just as it came.
Yep.
And then Cisco's, I'm sponsored by Cisco's, and he actually wanted to try a setup on it, and it really just slowed down the engine braking, so it was less engine braking, so you could kind of carry more momentum.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot.
No, that's unreal, because certainly talking to a lot of younger riders, they struggle to transition a lot of the time from the 2-stroke to the 4-stroke, but you're saying that you prefer the 4-stroke. How long have you been riding the 250 for?
I've been riding it since, I reckon, start of last year. I got on an old 250, and then we got the new 250 at the end of last year. I've put 40 hours on it.
By accounts, you're all in. How did you get started with racing and moto?
Well, when I was a kid, I could ride a pedal bike before I could walk. So I've always loved wheels, push bikes, anything to do with bikes. Just before I turned 3, Dad got me a JR50, little Suzuki, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It was really fun, and I just never really got out of the sport. I went to 50s. I started when I was 7. The first ever race was at Wonthaggi, and I actually got the overall, which was very surprising because back then I was nowhere really. And then after that, it's just been a real spiral of emotions. I've been good, I've been bad, and now hopefully I'm stepping back up to that good. I just need to really just put my races together.
Yeah, well, I mean, motocross definitely teaches resilience, if nothing else. That's 100% for sure. I was chatting with Adrian at Portland, and he was saying that you're pretty good on anything with 2 wheels, which sort of reflects what you just said. But I think, from what I understand, you do a little bit of training on speedway bikes and other disciplines. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in the off-season of motocross, speedway bikes are on. I've always loved watching speedway. It's not long, it's only 4 laps, but it's awesome to watch. And Adrian watched it when he was growing up, and we saw there was a bike for sale. We jumped on, got it, took it out to Broadford, and I loved it. Obviously, it's a bit different with no brakes and you can only turn left, but it's really fun, and I just kept doing it. I nearly even made it to the Worlds this year.
That's crazy.
I was only 1 point off. Yeah.
So is that something you're going to keep doing? And do you have a favourite, like out of motocross and speedway?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to keep doing speedway, but if I have to pick, probably motocross. There's just nothing like jumps. I absolutely love jumps. It's just an awesome feeling.
Yeah. Well, if you look at some of the best riders in the world just on 2 wheels, not necessarily motocross in general, like Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi, they're just guys that can ride any sort of bike. They can ride moto, they can ride speedway, they can ride motard. Like, do you follow the scene outside of motocross and speedway at all? And do you have any riders that you idolise?
I don't really follow MotoGP and road bikes, but I follow F1 because my dad's really into that, and same with my sister. But other than Daniel Ricciardo, there's not really anyone outside of motocross and speedway.
But it sounds like Adrian's, so that's Adrian Salmon we're talking about, who's your coach. He has a fairly big influence on your riding. How long have you been working with him for, and how did that all start?
I reckon I've been working with him for 3 years now. At Goulburn for the Vic titles, it was my last year on small wheels. That week, I messaged Adrian because he was working with some of the other kids, and I messaged him. I said, "Hey mate, I'm looking for a coach. Would you like to coach me?" And he said, "Yeah." So we went down to Muskerry Motor Park, and we never really stopped coaching. And that weekend, I was the fastest rider out of all small wheel. I didn't get the results because I wasn't getting very good starts, but other than that, never really stopped.
Yeah, for the record, I love Muskerry. That's one of my favourite places to ride. But with Adrian, so what does your weekly program look like? Do you work with him sort of several times a week, or is it just now and then? Like, what does your training program as a whole look like?
It's really hard at the moment because Dad's got work, Adrian's got work, but when there's not much work going on, normally Dad takes me somewhere Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And when Dad can't take me, then Adrian comes out, picks me up, or I go to his house the night before. Like, we go down to Rosebud a fair bit. I love that big track, and it's an awesome track to find your flow, and it really teaches you discipline.
Yep. And what about off-bike training? Do you sort of go to the gym as well? Because it sounds like, is that 3 times a week that you're training on bike?
Yeah, 3 times a week. I do go to the gym because obviously my dad's a copper.
I didn't know that.
he gets a deal through that line of work with the local gym.
Oh, yep.
So we go there as often as possible. Obviously, it's hard because just to get down there. But, when we get down there, I do as much as I can there.
Yeah.
I do have a gym, like a little machine that's got a couple of things off it. I do as much there when I can't get to the gym. But other than that, really, that's really it.
Yeah, so we're talking a little bit off air. You're doing online schooling at the moment. So based on your program and that, I'm assuming that like this is your goal. Is that what you want to do? And is race motocross at a professional level?
Yeah, obviously my goal will be to do motocross, speedway, really anything with wheels.
Yep.
Motocross number 1, speedway number 2, and then but other than obviously motocross speedway, Adrian has a excavator and bobcat that he dropped off at our house, and I've been building a track over the past couple of months, and I actually really enjoy it. So if motocross speedway doesn't work out, I can go into landscaping.
Yep, landscaping, track building. You'll never be short of work if you know how to operate machines. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's what we're hoping.
Yep. So with 3 bikes to maintain and a pretty rigorous training program, who supports your program and helps you get to the races?
Dad, Adrian helps me get to the races, and with supplying parts, obviously Adrian, Mum, Dad. With tyres, we got an awesome sponsor, Seymour Tyres and Mechanical. They supply us with all the tyres that we have, because in the past couple of years I've had the speed, but I just haven't had the tyres. So this year they jumped on board. They've been supplying tyres. It's been awesome. We got J&R who supply us Moto Gold, which helps the bikes be clean. They supply us with muck off, which we use for chain lube, kind of making the bike look shiny. And then we have Strike Hold, which you spray on the pipe and it kind of puts a layer on it, stops it from rusting. Moto GC gives us a discount for them, and that's really it.
Thanks, Nate. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show and having a chat. I'm really looking forward to watching you race the next few rounds of the Vic MX Championship. But thanks heaps for coming on.
Oh, good.
All right, the next rider on the line for this episode is Chace Mackintosh. How are you going, Chace?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, before we get into it, for the listeners, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how old are you and whereabouts are you from?
I'm 14, I'm from Victoria, and I like to play footy and ride dirt bikes.
Oh, very nice. So, that'll be one of my questions that I ask you a little bit later. So, what class did you race on the weekend?
85 big wheel C grade.
Yep. So I believe that this was your second podium. You finished third overall for the weekend. Your second podium, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you raced Portland as well earlier. So what's been happening? And tell me about the weekend from your perspective.
The weekend was good. It was very muddy and there wasn't very much lines.
Yeah. Have you been sort of riding those conditions at all since Portland, or was it sort of all new to you?
It was new to me. I haven't really ridden since Portland, which was not very good.
Yep. So do you like those sort of conditions, though? Because you seem to ride pretty well. I think you had about 20 in class, which is, there's a fair few riders there.
I don't really like them, but I prefer not to race in it, but I will ride in it if I have to.
Yep. So I asked the question, I had Kenny on the line earlier, with the way the track deteriorated on the Sunday, do you think it should have been cancelled after the first or second round of motos, or do you think it was like a good raceable track given the conditions for the weekend?
I reckon it should have been cancelled after round 2 because it got so muddy and then so slippery, and I reckon it nearly was dangerous to ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm in sort of two minds. I think it's good for riders that are good in the mud, like such as yourself, to have an opportunity to get good results. But at the same time, it was pretty miserable out there for all the flaggies and even the riders, and there wasn't as many riders on the gate. sort of later in the day. You're fairly new to this motocross racing thing, but you're obviously Zane Mackintosh's younger brother, and he races at the Pro MX level. But how long have you been racing for and even riding for?
I started racing at the start of this year, like properly.
Yep.
But when I was younger, I like fractured my femur.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So I like stopped riding for like 5 years, and then I got back into it last year.
Oh, yep. So tell me a little bit about your racing before your injury. So how old were you and how did you get into it?
I got into it from Zane because I wanted to be like him when I grow up, and before I injured myself, I was actually pretty fast.
Oh, awesome. So what sort of races did you race back then? Did you race Gippies or did you race the Vics as well?
I did the Gippies and I did one race the Vics, and then I didn't race again.
So what happened with your accident, if I can ask?
My throttle got stuck on and I hit a fence at Hastings, and I hit the fence post.
Oh, no. So did that sort of put you out for a little while and did you require surgery? Like, what was the injury like?
No, it didn't require surgery. It just scared me, and then every time I hopped on a bike, I started crying, and then I didn't like to do it.
Yeah. So what did you do in the meantime? You said you like footy. Is that sort of what you got into when you weren't riding?
Yeah, I got pretty good at footy when I wasn't riding, and I still play it now.
Yeah. So what made you get back into motocross after all this time then?
I just randomly started riding the 110 one day, and then I asked Dad if I could ride the Zane's 85, and then I rode Zane's 85 ever since.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. Well, yeah. I mean, Portland was the first time I'd seen you race, and I'd seen you at some of the events before that a couple of times. But one thing I noticed watching you ride, I mean, at Goulburn Valley was a little bit hard, but at Portland I definitely noticed you've got a very smooth riding style. Like, who's been training you and coaching you, and where did that style come from?
I don't know. I used to watch Zane get coached, but I've like never been coached myself. But I used to like go to Zane's coaching and watch all of them get coached and listen. So
you took it on board?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yep. So have you got a rider that you idolise and want to ride like? Is that sort of influence your riding style at all?
Yeah, I want to be like Jet Lyons because he's really fast and he's really smooth.
Oh, mate, he's the fastest and the smoothest. I think if you're going to idolise someone, he's the guy to do it. Your dad also told me that you're pretty knowledgeable about the junior motocross scene at the moment and up-and-coming riders because you've obviously followed Zane around for a fair while. Is there anyone in your age group that stands out who you think might go on to sort of be successful at the national or international level?
Joe Dunn, Cooper Danaher when he's not broken.
Yep. What about Cooper Ford? I think he's doing pretty well at the moment as well.
Yeah, Cooper's actually pretty fast.
And so, as far as your racing goes, what's your goal in the sport?
To win Vics this year and qualify for Aussies when Aussies is at the end of this year.
Oh, for the Aussie Juniors in Gilman?
Yeah.
Yep. So will you go over to Gilman this year if you get the chance?
Yeah, I will, but we don't know if I'll do practice, and if I'm not fast enough, I won't race it. But if I am, I'll probably race it.
Yeah, and as far as like your goals in the sport long term, is this something that you think you're going to keep doing?
Yeah, possibly, but at the moment I've been driving racing go-karts with my mates.
Oh, fantastic! So how long have you been doing that for?
I started about a month ago, maybe.
Yep. So you think you might pursue the 4-wheel racing instead of the 2-wheel?
Yeah, that's if Dad lets me, but if Dad doesn't let me, I'll keep racing dirt bikes.
Well, yeah, sounds like a bit of fun either way. So are you actually racing the go-karts?
Yeah, I did a race the other day.
Yep, and how did you go?
I qualified first in first qualifying, and then in second I qualified third, and then in the main event I crashed.
Yeah, oh, that's no good, man. Do you have a little bit of rivalry with Zane? Does he get in the karts at all?
No, he doesn't get in the karts, but when we both are on a bike at the same time, we have a lot of beef. We try to take each other out all the time.
Who's faster?
Me.
I bet you are, mate. I bet you are. So as far as your program goes, do you ride midweek? Do you go to the gym? And who supports your program?
I don't really ride or go to the gym. I do footy Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then sometimes I'll like run on the treadmill in the shed on some nights.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been awesome having you on for a chat, Chace. I've really enjoyed it, mate, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next round at Winton in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure, mate. I will see you there.
All right, thank you, Sal.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of the Vic MX Show, brought to you by Wonthaggi Motorcycles and Power Equipment. If you like this episode, don't forget to give us a positive review on your preferred podcast platform. Make sure you subscribe to Mental for Moto and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on the next show. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Kenny Watts for joining me to co-host, as well as our guests for this episode, Nate Shortt and Chace Mackintosh. A shout out also to the June sponsor of our Vic MX wall calendars, Motocross Conditioning Coach. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. On behalf of Mental for Moto, I've been your host, Pete Wolf. Until next time, see ya. Dirt